I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
You are fake news. Did you know I never used a prepared speech?
It fooled me, we can't get fooled again.
Hello and welcome to another mind-altering debates. I am your moderator, Boone Greenlee. I've had 3 beers, so forgive me. I'm doing my best. Welcome all the thank you. Welcome all the guests. We have an in-person crowd as well. Don't tell the governor. And our club really, it's supposed to be fun, but it's also trying to get to the bottom of it all. It's trying to get some truth that we believe exists in argument between friends. Arguments should be celebrated. So what we're debating tonight is the Star Wars prequels are better than the latest trilogy. And I want to define that so we're clear. The prequels are Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. That is the prequels. The newest trilogy is the sequel trilogy. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So everybody understands, the motion is the prequels are better than the sequels. We have a voting system. This is important because it decides who wins the debate. We have a vote before the debate is done, and we have a vote after the debate is done. You can either be for the motion, against the motion, or undecided. Now would be a good time to vote. I believe my technical people have given you a link to click on. Is that straw poll? Yep. And if you're having any kind of trouble at home, perhaps use your phone, because if you're all trying to use the same IP address, it'll assume that you're cheating. So if you get on your phone, then you can vote.
And just to chime in on that, if you're having trouble voting, you need to disconnect your phone from the Wi-Fi and use your mobile data. This provides a secure and safe election that is impossible for any fraud to be.
Stop the count.
We'll get to that later.
That's part 2.
Oh yeah.
And as
I
your
jumped the gun.
moderator, if you feel like cheating, go ahead and we'll find out how people cheat. And if you manage it, please let us know how you did it so we can prevent future cheating. Not that you ever could cheat. I'm sure it's impossible.
First election we've ever held.
During this time for vote, we need to buy time for. Let's go to a word from our sponsors. Joyful Footprints. If you would like to know more about natural living, go on to Facebook and search Joyful Footprints. Who wouldn't want more joy in their life?
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm going to check that out right now.
Our second sponsors. Hands down. Has this new world of COVID just given you so much fear and denial that you can't even stand it? Well, we can't help you with that, but we can get you to stop touching your face. We even guarantee it. Go to notouchllc.com. That's notouchllc.com.
Woo!
I don't think we clap for sponsors.
They keep the lights on. Come on, how can you not clap for them?
Man, this show used to be good before we had the sponsors.
Corporate scum.
We sold out.
We sold out. Before we became something, we sold
It'll
out.
take off. And please vote. It does help decide who wins and loses. This is like a blood sport to us.
It is. Oh, how much time are we giving it?
We have 3 voters in now.
300 votes.
300 voters.
300 votes?
We're waiting. We're waiting for 5 voters. 500 voters.
500.
I didn't know how long this would take. Like my buddy said, no, you get the flag.
Cut to the intro.
My buddy just what does it mean to end the show? Play us out. Thanks for coming.
Struggling to find where to vote.
Oh, see, this is good.
This is
Are we
good.
on Twitch?
Well,
On
there's.
Twitch, I don't see it. In the chat?
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Don't look.
Oh, I don't want to
Don't
see.
look. Don't
I do want to see though. You looked.
I don't know. I just saw color. That's all.
Whatever.
I'm colorblind, so I didn't even see that.
Can't handle
I see
this.
that.
A little bit.
Oh, you didn't mean racial.
Yeah, there it is.
No.
You missed the last debate. That was the
Well, it's
last
recorded.
debate.
What? Derek will put that one up. I'm proud of that one.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite ones.
Oh yeah.
Be racially.
No, I was
Yeah,
talking
just
like
gotta
red,
edit
green.
For real, I didn't know
The
that.
360 degree camera makes it difficult because it's like you have to go through.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to like manually edit the camera.
I only found
second to
out
second.
probably in the last like 5 years when I
Yeah.
took a color
The number and the dots.
Yeah, and basically like what
we
happened
could
was
just do the audio
Kyle at
for
work
that
sent
one.
me a meme.
I've got the.
that
I
was
think I
like-
say.
It was like this.
Yeah, I would
colorblind
too.
thing.
The
It
audience
was
likes it more.
I just have to do that.
you know, it said like
There's
fuck the
no
colorblind on it, and I was like, I can read it.
Tedious.
But there was actually something else behind it that I couldn't see, and he's like, "Are you being serious right now?" And it was like, "Yeah, I can see it. It says fuck the colorblind." Like it was so weird. He turned off green or red on his monitor, and that's when it was like,
So you had been colorblind your whole life, not knowing it, or do you develop the blindness later?
I have no idea actually. I've wondered about like LASIK maybe. I had
have-
LASIK when I was like
We have
21.
6 votes.
All right.
6 votes?
600
600 votes.
Likely 6,000 votes.
We're up 6 points.
That sounds official.
Oh, Brad mailed in his vote.
Oh,
Don't
perfect.
count it.
Don't count it.
It's already rigged. Stop the count.
Yeah, when's it postmarked?
Didn't Brad die a while ago?
Yeah.
Why are dead people voting?
Are we talking about bread?
Oh, no.
So our format is we have opening statements. So we get to hear from each person, and they have 2 minutes apiece. And I will be setting the timer for hopefully everyone to see. So it's the people of 4 get to go first, and they get to pick whoever they want. So whoever wants.
Yeah, I'll be making the opening statements.
You have 3 minutes, but I put it. Or you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. So I haven't started yet. I'm watching the timer closely here.
No, you can start. We'll
All
just, I get some from you.
Well, it is an honor to be here tonight at my first mind-altering debate. I've humbly joined the panel to argue in the affirmative tonight on this very important topic. Tonight, I will be making the case that the Star Wars prequels are better than the new trilogy. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a kid. I've watched the movies, I've played the games, and I've read the books. Star Wars has had a permanent presence in my life. I believe there's incredible potential in the Star Wars universe for good storytelling. With that being said, tonight I'll be discussing how both trilogies failed at good storytelling, but one failed much, much more than the other. In my opening statement, I want to talk briefly about the production of these films. The production of the prequels is a relatively simple tale. George Lucas wrote and directed all 3 films. This can be felt in the story as you watch. While it may be slow and at times nonsensical, this story was told from the mind of one storyteller, somebody who was invested in their creation and had a vision from the opening crawl to the final credits. In comparison, the sequels are objectively schizophrenic. The first in the series, The Force Awakens, was written by Michael Arndt and directed by J.J. Abrams. The second installment, The Last Jedi, was written and directed by Rian Johnson. The Rise of Skywalker was written by J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, with additional writing credits to Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly. While it's not unusual to have multiple writers and directors spread across a series, ask yourself, did these people care about telling a story, or were they more concerned with generating 10 figures of box office revenue? We've been given 2 minutes for our opening statements, and while I think the production of this production is perhaps the root of my belief that the sequels are trash, there is so much more detail we can go into tonight. While these facts about the production of the film do not make my argument, it sets a framework. I hope we have a productive conversation tonight, and to my opponents I say, may the Force be with you. You're gonna need it.
That's perfect. Well,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'll take our opening statement for the correct side of the debate. So I'd like to open just by reciting a bit of poetry, if I may. I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Not like here. Here, everything is soft and smooth.
Beautiful.
This is a poem taken directly from the prequels, and if you have any sense about you, you'll understand that that is one of the most cringe-inducing lines in film history. Quite frankly, the concept that it's just terrible. It's awful. I'm frustrated by the concept that that the sequels to the Star Wars films could be considered worse than that. Our opponents here would like to dazzle you with a lot of stories about who worked on what and how much money was spent on this or that. But the fact of the matter is that the Star Wars sequels, the Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, Force Awakens, they're not perfect films. They're not even great films. They're not even decent films. They're mediocre at best. But they are better than goddamn dog shit, which is what the prequels were. I feel like our opponents may be living in a world of coming from the perspective of who hurt me most recently. And most recently, they've been hurt deeply by the sequels. But if they took the time to go back and watch the prequels, I think they would find that they are dramatically worse than the sequels. That's my opening statement.
Wonderful. Thank you, Derek. Do you think an applause is appropriate? Why not?
Yeah, I got one.
I didn't introduce you guys either. Ben was first, Derek was next.
I had to skip the first sentence in my writing because it said thank you for the warm introduction.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, it deserves.
That's a cold response.
Yeah, you get back.
The show must go on. I adjusted for the broadcast.
So I'm bringing in Mike. He is for the motion. And the motion, I'll say it one more time, the Star Wars prequels were better than the sequels. And here you go.
Thank you for your warm introduction. I just want to say, I agree with you that the prequels had some awful one-liners, but they also had some great quotes. Some of the quotes I want to bring up today are, "So this all liberty dies with thunderous applause." Some other great ones. "Your focus determines your reality." We must keep our faith in Republic. The day we stop believing democracy can work is the day we lose it. I believe those movies were futuristic. I believe they set their culture setting. We use a lot of these memes from the movies to this day, and And what else can I say about it? And I just want to also say, don't take my words for it, or what else you're going to hear. I'm going to start us off with a banger. Take it from Mark Hamill himself. When asked about how he feels about the new movies, he said, I said to Ryan, the director for number 8, Last Jedi, I said, Jedi don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he maybe would take a year and try and regroup. But if he had made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, he had a fundamental difference, but it's not my story anymore. I also had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker. This and many more things is what we'll be talking about later in this debate.
Thank you, Mike. Please give him a round of applause. And now we get to hear from Blake, who is against the motion. Here he comes.
Thank you, Boone. Hi, everybody. Glad you're here tonight. It's great to see all your lovely faces. So, everyone loves Star Wars. But you know what not everyone loves? Bad Star Wars movies. That's why I'm here to tell you that no, the prequels are not better than the sequels. They were a ridiculous cash grab orchestrated by the evil, drug-ravaged mind of George Lucas. Fueled by hatred for the children he once entertained, he obviously set out to destroy the Star Wars franchise. The evil corporate overlord almost destroyed the beauty he once brought to the world. What we needed was the noble, hardworking, blue-collar, everyman's company, Disney. They know how to make movies, and they absolutely nailed it with the new trilogy. And Mike, I'm glad that you brought some quotes to this debate, because I have some too. Sorry, Anakin, this is not pod racing.
I'll give you all the time you want.
I would too. I no argument.
Moderator's on their side.
Sorry, Palpatine, you are not the Senate. And to my opponents, I have this to say. It's over, guys. We have the high ground.
Great quote from a great movie.
My opening statement.
That's all he's got.
Woo! Come out swinging.
Blake's my senator.
That's good.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Nice work. Damn beers.
Ooh, this is good.
Blame it on the
All
beer.
right, this is Boone, your moderator again. Apologies. Still drinking beer.
Same here.
So we have a format, and the next is free discussion. So I want to ask. I'm just gonna inject my own. Oh, the dog's pulling shit over.
Bad dog.
We are
The dog, a fan of the prequels, was outraged by Blake's opening statement.
We are
Yeah, microphones are working.
we are PETA friendly
I think
here.
we're fine.
All right.
Pet friendly.
I just want you guys to like sum up, each and every one of you maybe, how you felt when you watched these movies. Just like give me a sentence. I mean, that's just the moderator. I just want to hear from your own words. How did you feel? I want feelings only.
Outrage from the new movies. Last Jedi, when I watched it, and the opening lines, it was like from a Family Guy sitcom. And I thought instantly, this isn't my Star Wars. I'm done with this franchise, and I haven't seen a Star Wars since.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about that because I actually think that feeling is a huge part of my argument. I think we're all roughly in the age range of like 30 years old, roughly. Phantom Menace came out in 1999. I was 11 years old when I saw that movie. As much as we make fun of it now for pod racing and Jar Jar Binks and sand, like, those movies fucking slapped when you were a kid. There were lightsaber battles. There was pod racing. There were droids. Roger. They were cool. Every 2 years, you were excited for the new Star Wars movie to come out. Maybe our opinions have been colored by the red letter media reviews that became so popular and so influential in our circle that just bashed on the prequels relentlessly. But as a kid, you didn't have those red letter media reviews. Those movies were excellent. And to answer your question about the sequels, I felt nothing.
So I'll say for the prequels, the feeling I got, utter disappointment. Even as a kid, as a young child, I couldn't I can't even fathom how disappointed I was after how wonderful these old movies were that my parents grew up as kids, passing on to us. I can't pass the prequels on to my next generation, but the sequels, on the other hand, I can pass those on. Those are great movies. And I want to start by saying Force Awakens, that's the first one I watched. I started, it was perfect. You know what's uncomfortable? New storylines and new characters. That's uncomfortable. So I wanted the same thing repackaged, retold to make me feel happy again. That's what I want in a movie.
All right.
Well, I think there's been a lot of talk about feelings and emotions. One of the things that one of the things you really can't put a price on is authenticity. And quite frankly, the sequels had authenticity in spades. Love it or hate it, it was authentic and coming from a place of genuine care. I mean, we've got people such as the illustrious Mark Hamill. Times are changing. Mark's out, Ray's in, but ultimately, like, that sort of human connection really transfers through. And if you want to compare and contrast that with the prequels, what do we get, right? It's just a bunch of CGI bullshit. There's not even, like, people in the movie. I mean, what plot thread? I mean, what's the heart of something like The Phantom Menace? Like, there doesn't seem to be a heart at all. Like, I would argue that, maybe, we all watched them when we were younger, but it's really easy to impress a 10-year-old. Like, we watch these movies now, and, our tastes have been refined to some extent, and, quite frankly, I think that if we were to watch the prequels now with fresh eyes, we wouldn't even consider them to be movies.
I'd like to respond to that because I would say it was just about a year ago now. I was dating a woman who had never seen Star Wars before. It was actually maybe a year and a half. It was when the 6th movie came out, the Rise of Skywalker or something. And she had never seen Star Wars before. We decided to marathon the movies and then go see the new movie. I think looking at the prequels with fresh eyes, I couldn't believe how harsh on them I was before. They're fun movies. They're, like I said, they're nonsensical, they're silly, there's plot points that don't make sense. But when you ask what's the heart of the Phantom Menace, the heart of the Phantom Menace is the liberation of a slave boy on his journey to his destiny, where the end is tragedy. And with this backstory, it only makes it more interesting. And I think looking at that with the understanding that you're building upon that story that you were talking about before, the story that you want to pass to your children, you can still pass that story to your children. There are many ways you can watch Star Wars now. Watch the prequels first, and they'll be in for a bit of a surprise maybe. Who knows?
Well, I think that's one way that people can go about it. Personally, I view introducing a young child to the Star Wars prequels as tantamount to child abuse. But one of the key points there is just like, what is it? Hey, you've done a fascinating job of finding meaning in a painting. A Dadaistic piece of chaos. I feel like you're looking for meaning in a Rorschach test, And to me, the prequels, I look at them and I just see nonsense. I wouldn't say that it's complexity of storytelling. It's more just throwing whatever out there because it looks cool on the screen.
I just thought the new ones were
As moderator, this segment it's not over. I just have to ask each and everybody's opinion. Was Jar Jar Binks a Sith Lord?
It's hard to say with what Disney has done with the canon. Any previous fan theories about Jar Jar being a Sith Lord, I think just don't match up with what we have to go off of in canon now. There's compelling arguments, but and it's fun to think about, but I think the story's better when he's not a Sith Lord.
Ooh, I think it's the opposite. I think Jar Jar being a Sith Lord is so much fun and makes the story interesting. Fans have injected that into the franchise, the prequels, because they're so bad. You need to prop them up with a fun storyline. And what better way than making the worst character in Star Wars ever a Sith, make him a Sith Lord. That's fun. Again, George Lucas's drug-ravaged mind was not brilliant enough at that point to make...
You know what they did to make the new ones fun? They made frickin' Luke Skywalker milk some random cow thing.
It was charming!
That's true.
Haven't you ever milked a cow before? It's relatable.
That was the best part of that franchise.
The highest point of Mount Everest. Yes, agreed.
Okay, so I want to take a moment to not focus on the negative. You brought up Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Yep.
Let's talk about something positive. You're right, Mike.
Yep.
So, milking alien tits. Love it. Brilliant. Keep it coming. Thanks, Disney. You did it once again. You know what else was great in that movie? When the ship was running out of gas. Which is fun. It's never been seen in Star Wars before. It's new. It's innovative. It's wonderful. And we're all on the edge of our seats. And Vice Admiral Amelin Holdo decides to turn it around and destroy the Empire with her dying, ravaged, out-of-gas ship. Turning it into the most powerful weapon we've ever seen. More powerful than any Death Star. Any villain in the movie. That is fun! That's how you make a movie.
And quite frankly, the salt planet they went to, it's a planet made of salt. I put salt on my meat when I eat it, because that's what I like. So to think about like a movie that takes place on a salt planet is really exciting. And that's not even getting started on the Vegas planet. I like gambling.
I'm so glad that they. I'm so glad they had to like distinguish between the Empire Strikes Back and The Last Jedi. You know, that was visionary when it was a salt planet over a snow planet, and they had to let the audience know it's salt. that was very revolutionary.
I was impressed. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Help.
Oh, I can't argue against this. It's actually impossible to debate against.
I have something. Yeah, you don't have to, but I got something for you. The critics actually did weigh in on this, and I want to ask the opinion of what you think. The critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, 52%. Yet they gave Star Wars The Last Jedi 90%. How do you feel about that? What do you think?
When arguing, I guess this comes down to the nature of the debate, which is purely subjective and opinion-based. I think there may be an argument that if these critics didn't give a high score to The Last Jedi, then a mouse would have broken into their homes and slit their throats. But even aside from that, if you look at some of the highest rated movies of all time, they suck ass. You know, like critics, there's things that filmmakers look for, or that critics look for in films, and when it comes down to it, I can argue my opinion. I can't argue the poor taste of professional film critics.
Ooh, that's good. let's just move on to who has some questions. Do people have some questions? I remember there's a guy who has a really good question. As your moderator, I got to find that question.
And if anyone who has questions, if you're watching over Twitch, please submit them through the Twitch live chat. And if you're here in person, we'll call on you if you raise your hand.
Can he see the live chat, or do you have to read it to him?
You mean Twitch?
Yeah.
I'm not actually logged into Twitch.
Okay.
Your moderator, Boone Greenlee, apologies.
I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Well, thank you.
Anyways, go with your question you were going to use.
Yeah, I know. I took it too seriously.
No, you're doing it just right, Ben.
You are. Yeah.
Just read him one of the questions if you see one. I was trying to pull a Twitch real fast so Boone can read it.
I have a question.
Oh,
Yeah.
You have a question.
That's what we care about, the
So,
in-person audience.
Personally, myself, I view the
Maybe.
failures of both the prequel and the sequels is the last movie in both of them. Is how they decided to end that trilogy as a whole. I just want to get each side's take as to what are the redeeming values in how their own trilogy that they favored ended, and what they think is so great about it.
And can I highlight the last one in the original, the prequels was Revenge of the Sith, and the last one in the sequels was The Rise of Skywalker, if that helps anybody.
I could start with this. I actually liked the way Revenge of the Sith ended. It was a kind of a dilemma of like a character that you follow for 2 other movies that like you think is the good guy, and then at the end it kind of flips everything on top of itself, where then he becomes Darth Vader. I just think that's kind of cool that the person that you follow ends up being the bad guy. I think that's a very unique feature. And for not just Star Wars, but for anything, whenever you can flip a personality like that, and you can kind of see their point of view and why they made those decisions. I think that's cool.
I can, thank you, Mike. I can start with our team. I'll talk about Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. So I want to ask, we talk about how it ended. Who is the spookiest villain in Star Wars? It's obviously Emperor Palpatine. You saw his lame beginning in the prequels. You saw what you thought was his lame death in the original Star Wars. But no, he deserved a real send-off, an exciting death. Thwarted by everyone's favorite Jedi, Rey Skywalker, and her plucky boyfriend, Kylo Ren. Bring back Emperor Palpatine to kill him again. That is how you end the franchise.
So I think my answer to that question is I'll start with Revenge of the Sith. I mentioned earlier Phantom Menace is the story of a liberation of a slave boy on his path to his destiny, which we all know ends in tragedy. And the Episode 3 was the culmination of this. We saw the tragedy in action. We saw the characters that we have loved since we were kids, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. We saw them set the stage for Episode 4 and why they did the things they did in Episode 4. In Episode 9, I knew I was in for a rough ride during the text crawl at the beginning where the first words were Palpatine lives. And that was a surprise, to say the least, and I think the story suffered for it. I think with that, the most consistent thread in Star Wars is Palpatine, actually, which, aside from John Williams, but I mean, it makes the movies about Palpatine and his downfall, which I think is much less exciting than the story of the Skywalkers, Anakin and Luke.
Fair enough. What was the question?
Oh, what do you think is the most redeeming value of the last episode of your particular trilogy that you are defending?
Oh, well, one of the things that I liked about the end of the Rise of the Jedi was that there was a big battle and there was a lot of explosions. Where, in comparison, the end of the Return of the Sith or whatever was just one long, boring fight scene between two guys where we already knew what was going to happen.
I mean, no big Order 66. That wasn't emotionally, taxing or anything. That wasn't exciting. Watching all of these established Jedi get murdered in cold blood. That was whatever.
I think one of the most memorable scenes from Revenge of the Sith was when Anakin goes to the Jedi Academy and slaughters all the little... Is that what you were talking about?
No, Order 66 is the order that Palpatine gave to the stormtroopers.
Oh.
The clone troopers. When they started executing all of their...
Right.
Yeah. There's this big, long sequence set over sad music, watching all of these Jedi getting shot in the back by the troops that they're fighting with. It's a rough scene to watch. It's very emotional.
Yeah.
You watch essentially the religious order of this universe get struck down.
I think the way they handled our main characters, though, Padme dying of sadness, Vader burning and then bringing him back and going.
That was weak. I'll give it to you.
66 was fun. Our main characters. I mean, exciting.
Sorry, I gotta stop my partner there. I don't want him to be taken out of context. He meant arousing.
Very aroused by Order 66. But our main characters, who we cared about in the movies, let us down so severely. It set the whole franchise, the whole ending right there. Die of sadness and no.
Okay, we have a pretty good question.
Thank you, audience. Thank you, audience.
If anyone in the audience is listening, we would love more questions. We'll get through as many as we can. This one comes from McBeanerson.
Oh.
I think we all know who that is.
Bread.
Bread. What was more damaging to the franchise? The Holdo maneuver, referring to the Lightspeed kamikaze, or midichlorians?
Oh, shit. What? Do you know what midichlorians? I don't know what that is.
Midichlorians was the biological explanation for the Force. That's when Qui-Gon was measuring Anakin, and he says, his midichlorians are off the chart.
In the Phantom Menace, probably?
Yeah, it's only referenced in the Phantom Menace. They dumped it after that. Because fans were understandably upset.
It did damage.
It did damage.
I'll start with this one. So, in jest, I talk about the whole Amelin Holdo maneuver. I think midichlorians were far more damaging to the franchise. There's mysticism, there's magic, it's technology, science, sci-fi, space, but yet there's still something magical about it with the Force. And that wasn't good enough. They had to have an answer for it, and they made it biological organisms born in certain people. That's just not fun. Why can't you transplant? Why can't you do blood transfusions? If you're going to do a technological-based thing, that's not the way to do it, in my opinion. More damaging midichlorians.
You want to respond? Or
Yeah, you guys want to respond?
I can take this one. I mean, perhaps Mike will be angry with me at this. I have to concede this point to our opponents. Blake is exactly right. The Force, part of the appeal of the Force is the mysticism. Having a biological component to that is the antithesis of what the Force is supposed to be. The Holdo maneuver, very stupid, doesn't really fit with canon. However, like you said, it's technology. You can come up with an explanation for why Holdo was able to do this. And it doesn't ruin Star Wars. Midichlorians really do put a damaging mark on Star Wars. And I'm glad that they dumped it after the first movie.
Can you describe canon to our viewers?
Canon?
Yeah.
Canon is just a phrase used to refer to the lore or the backstory to a certain universe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like that the suicide scene that just ruined the movie, but like the microbials ruined the franchise, or could have ruined it if they would have kept it up. So I think you're right.
Yeah.
But however,
Conceding 1 point to our opponents does not an argument make. No.
truth over lies. Truth over lies.
That's a wrap.
I'm kidding.
We have another audience question. Where is Seth? Can't see him.
Great question.
Seth was actually in the 5th movie.
He's in the 5th Revenge of the Seth.
I'll take that one. Seth is all around us.
Yeah. In our blood.
It binds us.
Seth flows
Beings
through
of
us.
light we are, through which the Seth flows.
Yes.
I would,
Microbial thing is really stupid because in that context, it really doesn't fit with any of the lore. But whatever.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you compete with the Yoda versus Count Dooku scene in the prequels?
You don't, but I'll let my opponents try.
I'll take that one. That was the stupidest fucking thing that ever goddamn fucking happened.
Why?
In the sense that
Why?
the entire point of the Force is that it's like something beyond the physical realm, and forcing poor little Yoda to like compete on the level of a barroom brawler like with some guy like defeats the purpose. Like the Force is more than a lightsaber. The Force is like a mystical energy that underpins the entire universe. So having Yoda like just flip around with a lightsaber and try to fight a guy is like it's caricature-esque.
I disagree with Derek on this because what's the point of having lightsabers then? They just look nice.
Yeah, in the lore, Yoda was a master lightsaberist. Like now a lot of this lore has been stricken since the Disney acquisition, but in books and in games, Yoda was a master swordsman, and I think what you're saying actually sort of almost supports Yoda fighting. You say that the Force is beyond the physical. If there was no Force, Yoda fighting Count Dooku would be a very, very short, perhaps entertaining, but very short fight scene. But with the Force, you can see that this little 18-inch tall creature is on level playing field with this monster of a man.
I want to answer this too. So, you guys are helping tell the point that George Lucas, his drug-ravaged mind, could not tell a story anymore. And by this, I agree that Yoda may be a master lightsaber wielder, but in the original movies, the originals, we knew it, we never saw it, which was a good thing. In the prequels, looks like you pulled a zip cord on a Beyblade and you start spinning around, and it's silly and stupid. Now, if you're a good storyteller, you say like, "Oh, Dooku and Yoda just fought, and Dooku barely got away, whatever his name is." That's how you tell a story. You don't have to see it, but he showed it, and it was not pretty to watch.
So I perhaps agree with you. That scene may have been improved had they had shown less and implied more from the fight scene. If you want to talk about showing things, and I just think of The Last Jedi and the casino planet you were talking about earlier. You said that you like gambling.
I like gambling.
I'm thinking back to that scene, and I'm thinking why they showed actually any of that. That entire portion of the movie actually led to nothing. Nothing happened from that.
Well, no, they need to go there to get the key.
And they, and they found the wrong code breaker, and then they got turned in.
Well,
and then they escaped, and they ended up exactly where they started.
They found a different key.
Yeah, but they didn't complete their mission, and they ended up back exactly where they started. I'm just thinking about, like, in terms of showing things that don't need to be shown, we have, like, a 5-minute fight scene between Yoda and Count Dooku, and then we have, like, 40 minutes of Episode 8 that don't accomplish anything.
Look, I related to it. I've been to casinos before.
Time just goes by so quickly.
But they released the animals too.
Yeah.
Remember?
They were free
Yeah, they did.
animals.
Yeah, that made it worth it.
Yeah.
That's why it got 90% Rotten Tomatoes. And they're afraid for their lives.
There is one more question, which I think would be a good one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Please contrast the women's roles in each of your trilogies, and is it positive or negative for each?
I like that. That's a great question.
It is a good
And-
question. Good question.
Thanks for teeing that one up.
I mean, I'm willing to start, but if you guys want to. Okay.
Take it.
I'll just say that I was hoping that questions about equity, inclusion, and diversity did not come up tonight, because, again, that's sort of a clear win for the sequels. The prequels were made in 1999, 2001, 2003, when these things weren't really even on people's radars as much in the public sphere. You know, we're having much more robust conversations about these things now, and you're seeing it in the media that we consume. The roles of the women in the sequel were strong, leading. They were competent, and I mean, they made okay characters. I wouldn't say they made great characters. Like, I personally don't think that Rey Skywalker was much of a great character. I think Daisy Ridley is an excellent actor, but I just don't think that they wrote the character for her to really appeal all that much to me. That being said, the prequels did not do a very good job with women's roles. I'm thinking about Padme as a leading actress. And she did good. I mean, Natalie Portman is an excellent actress. But they didn't give her a very compelling role. She died because her boyfriend hated her or went evil, and sort of, that's not a very, very strong representation there. But like I said, different time. You sort of have to, I think, watch these movies through a different lens, if you have that in mind.
All right, let's hear from the opposition.
You want me to take this one?
Take it.
So, I think that Natalie Portman is hotter than Daisy Ridley, so I think the prequels did better. I can see the point.
All I wanted to say is what you said.
As a moderator, she is hotter.
I'd like to say to our audience, if you want to see strong female roles in Star Wars, watch The Mandalorian. Every female in that show has
Who got cut?
The
main female.
Oh yeah, Gina
got cut.
Carano. Yeah, she's a bit weirdo in real life, but the character in the show is fantastic. So every woman character in that show is fantastic.
You want to weigh in?
No, fuck no.
If we have any more questions, or I don't think we have any more time for questions. No. We had a lot of questions, but I decided to end it.
Ooh, moderator.
We did it.
You did it. All right, so now we need closing statements, and this will be given to the 4 team first, and they can pick whoever they want.
Would you like to go first with your closing statement?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. 2 minutes?
Yeah, I can set a timer for you guys. I apologize.
I don't have anything written for this, but
Nor should you. This is coming from Ben. I said it for 3, I have 2.
all right. So tonight we heard a lot of bad things about the sequels. A lot of those things were put in a pretty humorous way, but basically our opponents bashed the sequels half the time too. I think it's pretty clear that the prequels are better. I think the easiest way to decide how to vote in this debate is just think about how you feel when you watch the movies. I think Boone's first question was excellent. to many people I spoke to, they didn't feel anything from the sequels. They felt like studio creations. They were put together by a committee. They were checking boxes, and they were trying to make $1 to $2 billion off the name recognition. Now, I'm not going to say that George Lucas wasn't interested in making a big-ass pile of money, but he was creating the story that he had written decades prior to creating these movies. He had written the Star Wars story, and obviously he changed it over time, but this was his vision. And a lot of it makes sense when you watch it. If you can watch the sequels and they make sense to you, I'm so sorry, because there's something wrong with your brain. Those movies are just too long, they don't make sense, and they just don't evoke emotion. I think that's really all I have to say tonight. I think we pretty clearly illustrated why the prequels are better. If you go out tomorrow and you watch both of these trilogies, you're likely not going to enjoy either of them. But there's a reason why the sequels have a huge presence on the internet. It's an enormous meme culture. There's just so much that's memorable about those movies. I saw Rise of the Skywalker in theaters 14, 15 months ago, and I can't tell you really anything about that movie. I saw it, I didn't like it, and almost none of it registered. It's not memorable. I just say it's pretty much Hollywood trash. Misa Ben Helly, and thank you for listening tonight.
Yes, well done.
Woo!
Other side gets to come in.
Right. I've been Derek. I've been right all night, so I'd just like to throw that out there.
That's right.
One of the things that really bugs me about the prequels is precisely the fact that George Lucas had sole control over them, because it sort of revealed to us, the public, that George Lucas is essentially just an autistic man-child who doesn't really understand what a movie is or what makes a movie good, and sort of just shows that the only thing he cares about is seeing cool things happen on the screen. And my position has never, to be entirely honest, my position has never been that the sequels were 100% great. It's just that they're not as bad as the prequels. And I'd like to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, which is that I think the opposition, I get it, you've been hurt by the sequels. Everyone has been hurt by the sequels, because nothing will ever live up to the original Star Wars. But you're allowing that recency of pain to cloud your judgment on the prequels. Time is the healer of all wounds, something we've watched a long time ago. All the minor details sort of fade into memory and just doesn't seem as bad in comparison, but I'd be willing to wager that if you went back and watched them, you might change your tune. So, in closing, I'd just like to say that when people go to vote in our post-debate poll, that you should look at the opposition to people who support the prequels and say, that's no moon, that's fucking horseshit.
Thank you, Derek. We're going to hear from Mike.
I just want to say that in my closing, that you should just go off emotion. Go off emotion on how you feel about the prequels versus the sequels. Did you? I just want to just say again that watching the sequels, that you just don't get anything from it, and if you do, it's just anger. It's not a good thing. When Carrie Fisher passed away, sadly, they had a perfect opportunity to have her just fly off into space. It was very peaceful. It felt right. But they brought her back. She was already dead. They brought her back, and that just anger. Just let the hate flow through you. Those are awful movies. I hope you vote that way as well. That's all I want to say.
Oh, thank you. finally we get to hear from Blake.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to my fellow debaters tonight. I want to start by, again, talking about George Lucas's drug-ravaged mind. He wanted to call Darth Maul Darth Evil, but luckily they stopped him, and that is good, but he was able to do whatever else he wanted, apparently, in the prequels. And in those prequels, we had Anakin Skywalker, a young, innocent boy, played by Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd retired in 2001. Why? He was bullied by the cool and popular kids in school because that movie was so bad. In 2015, the police were called because Jake Lloyd beat up his own mother. Why did he do that? Was it the bacteria metachlorians controlling him? No, it was the Phantom Menace. He was later arrested in 2016 and spent time in a psychiatric facility. In 2020, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. The Phantom Menace was so bad, it drove the main character insane. That movie was the best of the As Qui-Gon Jinn said in The Phantom Menace, there's always a bigger fish, and he was right. It was the sequels.
Oh my god. Oh.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Very well
so
done.
We need a vote again to determine the winner. So, for the audience members, we need you to vote for, against, or undecided, which is still a possible answer. I can't imagine being undecided after this, but maybe. You know.
I think after listening to this,
Maybe it's all undecided.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I think everyone's losers. I think the prequels and sequels.
Well, I know
I don't like Star Wars anymore.
I'm sorry if our audience had no fun, but I had a lot of fun.
Oh, I loved it.
They had a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
They did. They clearly. So and thank you, Derek, for sharing. He's our technical guy as well. So
IT.
He's very multi-talented.
A renaissance man, if you will.
Thank you. And this is
If only
part
he
where
liked
I,
good movies.
This is where I buy time, waste time, stall. I'm not that good at that. Anybody got any ideas?
Well, it pulls up, we switch over to a pause.
Oh,
We
Yeah,
can
just
all
do a
take a
music
piece.
break or something.
Music break. That's way better than me.
Yeah.
Just let everyone know.
I think you
it's
did great.
Let everyone know it's up in Discord.
Oh, sure. I can be Discord.
I want to say that was the hardest debate for me ever. I realized I don't know hardly anything about Star Wars. I realized.
For anyone watching, the post-debate poll has been posted in Twitch live chat as well as our Discord. So you can go there. We'll be back as soon as the results are ready.
That was the hardest by far.
Okay, yeah, we're back. This is mind-altering debates. We now have our votes in. This determines who wins this debate because people voted before and they voted after the debate. And whoever wins the most minds wins the debate. Changes the minds or
Alters the mind.
yeah, maybe you both lose. Whoever loses the least is the winner, right?
Oh yeah.
The pre-debate. So this, we're going to do a little math kind of on Star math, but this is the pre-debate. That was 42.86% were for the motion. Prequels were better. 42.86% were against the motion. Sequels were better. And then 14.29% were undecided.
It's gonna be at least 100 people.
At least.
Might be 700.
This is hundreds.
Probably closer to 1,000.
Thousands of people.
It has to be an off number because
And now the post-debate results. Against the motion got 66.67%, and that makes the people against the motion the winners, as they are the ones who gained.
We did it,
For
Derek!
the motion was 33.33.
Stop the count.
Altered the most minds.
Did it.
Congratulations. It's not easy to do.
Works.
Thanks, guys.
Show
Yeah.
off.
And no more undecided. That's a
Oh,
good sign for both of you. You eliminated the undecided.
we got him.
Altered all their minds.
That was fun. That's why I say good job.
Blake and Derek.
Yeah.
They destroyed.
Good debate, gentlemen. We got 700 points there.
It feels so good knowing that midichlorians will forever be buried in the annals of history, along with the Star Wars holiday special.
Oh.
All right.
All right.
Send us off, moderator.
Yeah, you mean like to end the show?
To play us out? What the fuck does that mean?
Okay, we go live.
Yeah, I don't have anything written.
Words of
Even if I
wisdom.
did be trash, as I'm just trashed already.
This is much better.
Yeah. So again, you can't just take an individual's word for it. Like the truth exists in an argument between friends. What I mean by friends is they don't hate each other. They're not trying to kill each other. Not for real. Just pretend. And I hope you had some fun with us. I had a lot of fun. And this is the end of the show. We'll be back next month. We'll be nagging you to join our next debate. So please join us again. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.